controls the language controls the narrative. Every language carries in it the essence of its cultural origins. Sanskrit, the language of our ancient texts, is a beautiful, well-developed, versatile language that holds the ethos of Bharat in its flow. It is capable of expressing the Bharatiya philosophy in ways that foreign languages cannot. When our texts are translated into foreign languages, a lot of the cultural connotations to the ideas are lost, and one is forced to accept ill-fitting substitutes. That is why the phrase "lost in translation." This is a series of such commonly mistranslated words, their limitations, and the actual harm they cause in our narratives. Namaskar. There is an African saying that until the lions have their own historian, history will always glorify the hunter. Today, we are talking about history and Itihasa. Most people know what is history. They don't like it. They study it in school, mugging up all the dates, and that, they say, is history. But how is it written? For example, Bharat was under the rule of the Mughals for 800 years. Then for 200 years, it's the British who ruled us. And what do we see about the history that was written about these periods? When it comes to the Mughals, we pick up the narratives from their court chroniclers. The British also prided themselves on being very good record keepers. So we gain our knowledge of history from the records they kept. There is very little we know about the same period from the other side of the aisle. The Mughals were the conquerors. They wrote it down. That became history, his story. The British came and recorded the events. That became history, his story. History and Itihasa. His story, history, is generally written by the conqueror. The vanquished rarely have the luxury of having historians who would meticulously record what they have faced. In many cases, the vanquished are in no position to actually put any records down. Itihasa, however, is a Sanskrit word. Itihasa. Iti means thus. Hasa means happened. Itihasa means this is how it happened. And generally, what we consider as Itihasa is not written by the conqueror. It is a description of events by a third party. For example, Ramayana is Itihasa. It was written by Valmiki. It wasn't written by Ram's paid chroniclers. It was written by a contemporary, events happening at that time. So many a times, we are forced to accept history written by those who ruled over us. Whereas there would be elements of truth and facts in those descriptions. They can never be the entire truth, because the other side of the story has not been recorded. For the other side of the story, for both sides or multiple sides of a story to be written, it has to be written by a third party. For us, a more problem lies in that most of our history has been transmuted through oral tradition. Writing it down was not a practice. The reason was, and it's a very valid reason, the written word can be corrupted. There is a description or a narration of an event. I make a new copy. There is a possibility of error. Or if my intentions are nefarious, I can deliberately write something different from what it actually is. That is why in our knowledge systems, transmission was always oral. The idea being you transmit your knowledge to the next person. Make them repeat it correctly again and again and again until it becomes just like muscle memory of the brain. And it is something when you have memorized something so thoroughly, when you try to reproduce it, it is very difficult to deviate from what you have learned. So what I tell you, if I make you memorize it, chances are much higher that when you repeat it, you will repeat it the way I have told you. Whereas, if I give it to you in writing, you will read it. You will understand part of it. And it's quite possible that when you transmit it to the next person, there will be a difference. That's how that game of Chinese whisper works. History and Itihasa are not the same. We need to start understanding that what we learn as history is a version of the events given to us by our conquerors. We should keep a sense of caution in our minds when we read it. We should remember that this is just one side of the story. When we are talking about our Itihasa, which includes Ramayana and Mahabharata, we have to understand the difference. There is an effort a lot of our scholars make, trying to explain to people that, look, this is our history, this is our Itihasa, this happened this way. But it is not something people understand. People from a different civilization understand. They still look for archaeological, scriptural evidence. Whereas they accept everything that was written down by paid chroniclers of kings, court historians, etc. as, wrong word to use, I suppose, Vedavakya, because they don't believe in Veda. Maharishi Vedavyasa. Whereas we use the term Vedavakya to say that this is there in the Vedas, so it is true. Maharishi Vedavyasa said it, so it is true. So let us understand the difference and stop using these words as interchangeable words. Whenever we are speaking of Ramayana, Mahabharata, or ancient kings or dynasties, let us use the word Itihasa, not history. We can use history when we are reading or talking about what was written about us or that period of time when they ruled us. But we should never ever accept their version of what our Granth, our texts mean. Always go to the source. So for history, for their version of the history, let us accept what they say. But there will be another version, our version. And as far as our epics go, refer to them not as mythology, but as Itihasa. This is one of the sets of words that have been mistranslated. There are many more, some for which you will find videos in the playlist, others that are yet to come. So please like, subscribe, and come back, and of course share to find out more of these mistranslated words and gain control over your narrative. Namaskar.